Welcome back to the Better Learning Podcast. We are continuing our conversations at EDspaces in Columbus, Ohio. We hope you're enjoying this series, and let's dive back in.
So, good morning. Thank you for being here. And I want you to go ahead and just tell our audience who you are, where you're coming from, and what you do.
Okay, sure. Dr. Brian O'Keefe. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations at Wheaton Unit School District 200. Wheaton is a western suburb that is about 35 miles directly west of the city of Chicago. So we're in Illinois. We're a pre-K through transition school district, meaning we served ages 3 through 22. We've got about 12,000 kids, 13 elementary schools, pre-K building, transition building, 2 high schools, 4 middle schools, and 3 of those middle schools are going through massive renovations and transformations the next couple of summers.
So you've definitely got a lot going on right now. Yeah. Never a boring day. Let's talk about what radically student-centered means to you.
Well, it's interesting because I've been thinking a lot about the word radical, because in society, that means you're either far one way or far the other way. That's how you get deemed. But radical has been a word that has been used for thousands and thousands of years over different generations and different cultures. So from a parent and or educator lens, I think radical is about doing the best that you can to make good decisions for kids on a daily basis, And then at the same time, like, standards are held high, but you love them as much as you can because you want them to grow. And that's how you get to a point where somebody maybe says that you're doing something radically different, but it's the basis of what should be foundational education, especially public education in this country. We, in many cases, tend to find paths that we chase that aren't centered around what's good for students and what's good for adults inside classrooms. Maybe some folks think that's radical, but the baseline of if you're being a radical educator, it's meaning you're doing everything for your kids every single day and you treat them like your own, I think, in my mind.
I love that. And so we're going to kind of stick to that, but just get away from it a little bit. And I want it to get a little more personal with something you've experienced. So what's a memorable moment when you saw students experience a newly designed or renovated space for the first time?
So this past summer, one of the 3 middle schools that's going through a major transformation, we updated 30 classrooms, just standard, typical classrooms. And there are adjacent classrooms that have not been touched in many of those instances. So seeing the adults and the kids look at the new and then kind of take a step back and move over about 20 feet and then look at the old, and just the looks on their faces like, wow, I can't believe this looks the way it does. I can't believe how much brighter this is. I can't believe why this, like, what did you guys do? And it was pretty simple. It was flooring, lighting, ceilings, paint, new furniture, like nothing transferred, no walls were torn. There's a couple walls were built just to solidify the sound and the space within a few areas. But to see the look on a kid's face, that's like, wow, we've been in that. And I don't have to be in that this year. I'm in something new is really cool. Getting the adults to follow along is always a challenge in education. The other part is we've introduced something referred to as human-centric lighting. So it's lighting that is supposed to follow the circadian rhythm of a typical day. The interesting part is when you go into a classroom in the morning where that lighting is in there, we're sitting in a space where there's like pink lighting in here, feels like pink lighting. When you go into the space, it feels like the lighting is orange early in the morning, because that's what it's like when the sunrise is coming up, on the skyline. And then those colors change throughout the day to match the rhythm of the day, which from an educator's perspective is supposed to help kids maintain continuity in terms of their output, their emotion, their ability throughout the day to make an effort. And when you combine that with, it's a test. We're 2 months into this. We're not quite sure how well it's going to work as a whole. But when you do that and you do it with the proper guidance inside the classroom, you've got the proper nourishment for kids, hopefully that day follows a pattern that just allows them to focus on learning, because that's really what they're there for.
Yeah, and that it will be really interesting to see the change that you're hoping for at the end of that. I'm excited to hear how the teachers and the students, respond. I know the students would probably jump on quicker than sometimes the adults, but
True. part of our challenge in society as adults more often than not. Like no matter what the affiliation or background is. I think the other side too is inside those classrooms, everything now is flexible. So there's nothing that's attached to a wall, nothing that's attached to a ceiling. We've got whiteboards, so that's attached to a wall. All the furniture's flexible. You can be small group, it can be bigger group, you can move it throughout the room. Just the kids so you build in the lighting side of things, right? So it feels like you're following the typical day inside of there and your system isn't out of whack because you've got bright LEDs or T8s or T12 old lighting components inside of a building. But then you put in the flexible furniture and you allow kids to dream about how they want to learn. That's the idea of what I would say is something different and radical. And as far as I've been told, we'll find out, we're the first school district in Illinois that's testing out this lighting.
Okay. I think it's radical, and I definitely think it's radical. So how do you see the radically student-centered approach evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's the challenge, right? I grew up in a space where you were taught to, right? And chairs were aligned perfectly, your desks were aligned perfectly, everybody faced forward. That's not how most kids today learn. So I think the radical nature of understanding how a child changes in terms of their development and how they can learn, and helping teachers understand why it's important that you touch every one of them. Now, you can care for them, you can challenge them, but you have to find a way to relate to them. And certainly in a district, like we're a wealthy school district, defined as a wealthy school district, but we do have 30% low income, and we have some schools that have greater than 60% free and reduced. So we've got different spectrums and different backgrounds and different cultures inside of our schools. We're almost up to 90 languages in a traditional suburban Chicago school district. So our collective challenge on the education side is how do you reach every one of those kids, especially when there's a child that just emigrated from another country for more than likely some radically defined purpose, right? They had to find a better place to live, but they don't speak the language, and you've got a teacher that doesn't speak their language.
Yeah.
Like how do you that's the challenge.
It is.
How do you connect with kids?
I have been there. It is a challenge. And I also, what I hear you saying is it's not a one size fits all approach. Like it is so unique to the student. Having teachers that are willing to pull out that uniqueness and foster the right type of relationship is so important. So,
while caring for them and challenging them at the same time. Because realistically, they've got to take care of us. If you think about it, as we're like these are the young men and women that should be running businesses, being back in public education, in politics, and hopefully get better than what they look like today and what they have been for a number of years, so that we can enjoy whatever the next step of our career and or life is at the same time too. So that's part of my mindset. Like I've got a complex job, but it's simple because everything's always about taking care of kids. And if we can just have people focus on what's the right thing for a child, knowing there's boundaries of time, there's boundaries of talent, there's boundaries from the financial perspective. But if you can reach every child in your classroom and give them the opportunity and encouragement to learn, they've got to do work on their own, as you've experienced. Like you can give them the tools, but they still have to do the work. Same thing. You can give the teachers tools, but they still have to do the work. If you can encourage kids, love them, treat them well, and get them to a point where they're excited about learning, that's a good place.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you are doing wonderful things, and I just appreciate you carving out a little time for us today.
Thanks. Great to be here. Appreciate the time too.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this special EDspaces edition of the Better Learning Podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and reminded you just how powerful student-centered learning environments can be. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and share it with someone who's passionate about improving education. And as always, keep pushing forward, keep rethinking what's possible, and keep making learning better, one space at a time. We'll see you in the next episode.